I used to be quite insecure, and I don't think that this is something that many people were aware of because I wasn't particularly shy or anything, and I always got good grades. I made sure that I was always on top of things in my life. So people often told me that I looked like I had it all together, but inside of my head it was a bit of a different story. I couldn't even tell you everything that I felt insecure about because the video would never end. I was insecure about my looks, my pale skin, which sometimes people would make fun of. I was insecure about my hair, which I recently figured out is actually wavy and not completely unmanageable. I was insecure about being small-chested, and I swear my boobs only started growing after I turned like 26, and many more things. I also felt very insecure and awkward around girls my age. I had a bit of an inferiority complex because I was bullied a little as a kid. And I was very awkward growing up, and the boys I liked never really showed an interest in me. Because of that, it was very hard for me to, for example, go shopping with a girlfriend and show her how something looked on me, because I thought it looked hideous. And for the longest time, I didn't feel comfortable doing sleepovers with other girls because I worried that they wouldn't like me or that they would gossip about me, and I truly felt less good as the other girls. But luckily, at my current age of 33, I can honestly say that I am a very confident person. And of course, I still have my insecurities sometimes. I'll feel insecure about my looks or my body or my personality or my abilities. Like sometimes I'll talk to someone and I'll have that imposter syndrome flare up a little if they're much more successful than me, for example. But that is not necessarily a bad thing, I think, to feel insecure sometimes. I don't know a single person who never feels insecure about anything, and if they do exist, I think they would be a very interesting person. But maybe not in a good way. It's good to question yourself every now and then, but as with most things, it's all about balance. So today I want to tell you how I became confident, and my hope is that by sharing what worked for me, hopefully these things can also be helpful for some of you as well. So how I now see self-confidence isn't the absence of insecurities. I think we can be an overall confident person and still feel insecure at times. But confidence, I think, is when you truly believe that you are enough on your own just as you are, and that you don't need anything external in order to feel good enough. Someone who's truly confident is someone who embraces and accepts who they are, insecurities and flaws and all. Someone who trusts themselves and values themselves as being worthy, regardless of any imperfections or what others may believe about you. And so I think this is a state that everyone will be able to get to because it doesn't require perfection in any way. It only requires that you show up just as you are and be okay with that. And honestly, I think part of how I became confident as a person is just growing older. I was very insecure in my teens, but I think that also has to do with the age. Then I was still very insecure in my early 20s, but as I moved towards 30, life experience just teaches you that there are so much more important things in life than how you look or if other people like you or if you're successful enough, etc. You start to see that actually things like being healthy and being safe and being loved and having love in your life and doing things you're passionate about are all much more important than that. And the emphasis on your insecurities or the need to be as perfect as you can be kind of naturally shifts more into other directions. Another big thing that I learned about confidence is that you cannot shop for it. They don't sell it in the stores. No matter how much I shopped out of insecurity, I never felt better about myself. And I would get the same things that I saw the popular girls wearing because I felt like maybe then I would feel like I fit in better. But it still felt off, and that is because the cliche is true that confidence has to come from the inside out. So as I grew a bit more confident, I started shopping less, and I grew more confident because of that, so I started shopping even less, to the point where now I do shop sometimes, but never to feel better about myself. I got reminded of this again recently, that external things can never bring true inner confidence. A while ago, I made a video about my plans to lose some weight and to get back to my previous healthy weight. And since that video, I will leave it in the description box though, in case you want to watch it, I lost about 13 pounds, and initially I did feel a little better about my body and about how I looked, and I felt a bit more confident, and shopping was easier because they had things that fit me again. But after a while, my confidence levels went back to the exact same levels that they were at before, which is mostly confident and sometimes insecure. And while I absolutely believe in the power of looking after yourself and self-care and eating right most of the time and doing your exercises and all of that stuff, I also believe that true inner confidence cannot come from changing the outside, changing the external things about ourselves, because we can always find things to feel insecure about if we don't change the thought patterns underneath. Learn to laugh at yourself. I think not taking yourself that seriously is a little trick to help you enjoy your life more. And also to realize that if others laugh at you because maybe you did something clumsy, for example, that is okay too, and not necessarily a reflection of how they think of you. If you learn to not take yourself so seriously, you kind of disassociate a little from your ego, because you don't have to do everything right. It is okay that you are flawed. It's okay that you're not perfect, and in fact, it only adds to your uniqueness. Your ego doesn't like it, but when you stop feeding your ego, it does become smaller somehow. And if you don't take life so seriously or yourself so seriously, it's easier to get the balance right between confidence on the one hand and humility on the other. Which is also, I think, why confident people tend to be very easy to be around, because they don't feel the need to convince you of their ideas or to make you see that they are right. Not taking yourself that seriously doesn't mean that you don't have self-respect or that you're not trying hard in life or anything like that. It just means seeing yourself for who you are, an imperfect, beautiful person in this very strange, ever-changing world who's just doing their best and who is going to screw up occasionally and do stupid things, and who sees the humor in themselves and the situations that they're in. I have a twitching muscle in my eye. It's been like this all day. Part of this is also about breaking the pattern of negative self-talk, because the way you talk to yourself over time really influences your confidence levels. And I used to talk down to myself a lot, and that establishes a pattern and it becomes a habit. Whereas if you flip that around and you talk positively to yourself, it also establishes a pattern and it becomes a habit, but then in a good way. And if you do that long enough and consistently enough, it really does make it easier to believe that you are worthy and beautiful and a good human being who deserves good things to happen to them. And I have a whole in-depth video about how to break the patterns of negative self-talk over on my Patreon. So feel free to check it out if you want a little more info about that. Realize that everyone has insecurities and that we all face this sometimes. Even people whom you might never expect to feel insecure at least every once in a while. I used to look at people who had the exact opposite of the features that I felt insecure about, and I would idealize them, like the girl with perfect hair and who always had a beautiful tan and who always had the boys fawning over her. Like, she must be super confident, but the truth is that she probably also has her own insecurities and her own things that she compares herself with to other people. The truth is that we live in a very competitive world and that we're always able to compare ourselves to others. So even in that experience, we're all the same. It also made me realize that people don't care. People really don't think about you as often as you might think. Because to yourself, in your own thought bubble of your mind, you are your whole world. But to someone else, You are just one of the many people out there. When you want to compare yourself to others, there's always going to be someone out there who has it better or who does it better. Like if you want to compare your looks, there's always someone who you think looks better, or your skills at a certain thing. There's always going to be someone who's better at it than you, unless you're like the world champion or anything. So just try not to do it too much. I think a large part of why I grew up to be a mostly confident adult and why I feel so comfortable and at ease with myself is that I am not on social media, and that is a very conscious decision that I made. I mean, obviously I'm online for my job, but I am not on Instagram, I'm not on Facebook, I'm not on TikTok, and because of that, I don't have that facet of life where I can always compare my life and myself to thousands of other people. And I think I'm happier because of that. Grow a strong base. Know what you find important. Figure out what you value in life and what you stand for and what you do and do not want. If you have these things more figured out, it shifts your perception of your self-worth from the more shallow things like your looks or your body to deeper things like that. It's the whole external versus internal locus of identity, where if you have an external locus of identity, you only value yourself as much as you are valued by others. Whereas people with an internal locus of identity see and value themselves for who they are, and that they believe that they are worthy and good enough underneath it all. So if you look inside yourself and you grow a strong base or a strong core, you start to strengthen that part of yourself and you will be less easily swayed by things that used to make you feel insecure. If you struggle with feeling insecure about your looks, then try to focus on other things in life, because your confidence in part relies on what you surround yourself with. So for example, the content that you consume. If all you surround yourself with is information that looks are very important and that looking a certain way is more desirable than your natural looks, you are going to feel that your looks are very important and you're going to feel insecure about anything that doesn't exactly match up to what is currently considered pretty. This is very personal and not necessarily a tip for me to share, but I do want to include it in this video because of how much it impacts me and my confidence levels. Being in a very healthy and loving relationship with someone who's always telling me how amazing he thinks I am. While it is not necessary to be in a relationship to feel confident, it is part of my story and it did help me out a lot in my journey towards becoming more confident. My boyfriend compliments me on my looks every day, but also on things that don't have anything to do with my looks, on my personality, on my skills and abilities, on my mind, on my role as a girlfriend or as a friend, and I think that's very important. While I truly believe that confidence does have to come from within and that no one else can make you feel confident instead of insecure, I also believe that who you surround yourself with matters. People who make you feel good about yourself and who let you know that, instead of people who constantly point out things that are supposedly wrong with you or that make you feel insecure or not good enough. Try to think about each person who has a large role in your life and how you feel directly after meeting up with them. Are they influencing your feelings of self-worth and your confidence, either in a positive or a negative way? In the end, I want to emphasize that confidence is a skill, and like with all skills, as I always say, practice makes better. So it's not like some people are confident and others are not. It just takes a whole lot of practice and mostly awareness. And it starts with the decision or the wish maybe to become a confident person and to let go of any insecurities that you may have instead of holding on to them, realizing that you don't need to change anything about yourself in order to feel good about yourself, because confidence is already available to you just as you are right now. I would love to hear your thoughts and experiences when it comes to feeling more confident in the comment section down below. And I want to thank you for sticking around till the end of this video. I would love it if you could give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more from me. Right here is a video about how I learned to just be happy, and right here is a video where I share my experience with burnout. As always, questions, comments, conversations down below. Thank you for being here, and I will see you again next week. Bye bye.